you know, like Springfield, kind of?
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember it was like, what's that?
All coming back now.
First time I was in a studio, so I remember it very vividly. That's cool. I don't know, is there any, like, questions or concerns or jokes? Yeah.
I know that when you move somewhere, there's a song that reminds you of that time. Do you have a song that reminds you of the time when you moved from Chico to cut your, start the music business? Like, does it take you back to that? Is there a song? One song?
Oh, yeah. I mean, the one, probably, like, Nothing Left to Lose was this, like, song I wrote about just, because there was this train that would go by in Chico. I lived on the street called Hobart Street.
Yeah.
There was a pomegranate tree in the backyard, which I say you can still hear the pomegranates. I can still smell the pomegranates or something, which you can't really smell them grow. But this train would go by, and I would hear it out my window. And then when I moved to Nashville, I put out an independent record, and it was this crazy road trip. We were just like, let's go for a month, and like I moved there, and this whole thing happened. And I got a record deal after being there for 4 or 5 years, and I remember I was sitting on my front steps, and I was like, we were going to the last day of recording studio, knowing I had to deal with Columbia Records, and I just kind of, this train would go by, and I'd hear it. I was like, wow, this is crazy. This reminds me of this journey I've been on from Chico, chasing this crazy dream to like in this house with 8 people in Nashville. And I don't know, something about the trains just like tied it together, and I wrote that one night, just like going right before we went into the studio for the last day, and happened to be in the back of the room, and the producer was like, what is that? My buddy that I drove across the country with was the producer that helped me make the first record. And I was like, oh, it's a song I wrote last night. And he's like, that's really good, we should record that. I was like, oh, it's not done. He's like, well, go finish it right now. And so we recorded it, and we just snuck it in at the very end, and then it became like the title track. But something about that journey of just like going out and trying this crazy thing that seemed ridiculous. And I'd never been to the South, never even been to Nashville. I was like, yeah, knew nothing. So yeah, that song is definitely one of them. And it still is that to me often in different seasons of life and change or unexpected things, or finding out you're having a 3rd kid and you wasn't necessarily planning on that. Yes, it's exciting, but sorry, I didn't mean to say that, but we're very excited. But yeah, stuff like that always it takes on new meaning. It's a long answer.
We shared a story on Kings and Queens. It was our first dance song at our wedding. So
Yeah.
just curious
Oh, that's awesome. I was on tour with Judah and the Lion, if you remember them, if you saw that. Yeah, they're awesome. Oh, really? That was a great show.
6th grader.
No way.
Her first daughter.
So you're like in 7th grade now?
Senior in high school.
Okay. Was that long ago?
I love you.
I was only 13, so it's crazy that I'm almost 18. Say that again, sorry.
We drew a line and saw them because of you at that show, and they were amazing.
They're awesome.
I didn't know them.
Yeah, they're great, and Judah is their lead singer, who's a buddy of mine. So we're like, let's write a song, and so they came over to my studio, Judah, and we, I don't know, he was just asking me about, you've done this. He grew up on listening to my music too in high school, so he was just asking me a bunch of questions. He's like, let's talk about it. So we're just getting into like, there's albums you make that you love and you think they're amazing, and then everybody hates them, and then you do things you think are terrible, and then they like take off. And I was just like, it's a journey that you can't predict. And we were just talking about like keeping people you love close to you and why you do it, and not being defined by what your whole thing is, and like the success or the money or the fame or any of that like really is pretty empty. We're just talking about that. And we were walking to coffee, and he's like, yeah, we should write that. I was like, okay, let's do that. And so I had this title, Kings and Queens. I didn't really know what it meant. I just had it on my phone. I was like, well, I have this title that kind of fits. And then he had one of his melodies like, eeny, meeny, miny, moe. I was like, well, we figured it out. And so we just wrote it. And it took like 3 hours, 4 hours to talk, and then we wrote it in like no time. So it was a really special day actually in my studio. Thinking back to it. Yeah. Usually the good songs are like so easy, you just don't. You look at your back, you're like, how did that happen? Like the songs you really work for are usually never good. So frustrating. Yeah.
Do you ever do like band or choir or anything like
did not. I did zero music growing up. Like none. I didn't actually start doing music till college. My roommate had a guitar, and I was an English major, so I loved writing words. But I was good at like kind of like in my troubled years in high school when I was like a punk kid. We would kind of like freestyle, make up like songs to like hip hop instrumentals, like as joke, like just sitting around, make up songs, all our friends, just like freestyling, I guess what you call it. And I was like exceptionally good at it. They were like, "What is this?" And then I would start getting really personal, and people would be like, "Whoa, bro!" And like I would be like very diary, like it'd be like my diary, just kind of like found it as a way of expression. So I had that going for me when I went to high school, college, but I couldn't really play anything. And my roommate had a guitar, but I didn't have any music, so I just started making up songs to the guitar. And my friends were like, "Those are pretty good, man. You should do this." So I just fell in love with songwriting, and it was not until my sophomore junior year that I started really learning how to make music.
Did you play online?
I knew you were going to ask that today. Someone told me you were. Are you caught?
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you for the coffee. It's really good.
Yeah.
It's a piano song. I
is,
can't really. I don't even know. I wouldn't know how to do that. Nope, I can't do it.
I'd love to know like a little bit behind the songwriting process for that song.
What are the chords in that song?
It's like
I just know what it looks like.
6, 5, 1.
Oh wow, you know
6, 5, 1.
Nashville numbers. Okay, it's in what key? Is it in C sharp?
Yeah.
F sharp?
I think C sharp.
6. What is it?
6, 5, 1. Yeah.
Really? No, I think
No,
it
6,
goes.
5, 4.
No. I thought it was 3, 2, 1. What's 3 in C? I woke up this morning to blood. That's not it.
No, I think it's 6, 5, 4.
You're gonna argue with me
That song saved my life.
Oh.
The darkest times I've been through, so
Oh.
I know that song.
That's awesome. You know, I wrote that. My roommate was from New Orleans, and he'd gotten engaged. And they were a long distance relationship. She lived in New Orleans, and so all of their like family came and basically like stayed with us. So we're just like watching this Katrina come like rock their city, and they're like didn't know if her apartment was there, if her car was there, you know. And it was just I just a very emotional season to be in the middle of their world. And I snuck out one day and just honestly wrote it for them, just as like this song, kind of like. But I was, you know, that's how a song starts. You start with this kind of premise, and then then your life enters it, and then like you're pulling from fiction and real, and you know, and then it takes on this bigger meaning, you know. And so that's kind of how it started, was for them. And then I was like, well, that's pretty good. I should record this.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
What do you enjoy more, writing your songs or touring and playing in concerts? I've always been curious to ask artists that.
You know, everyone's different. I definitely like started as a writer. That's like, that's the stuff that gets me. Like, my drug is the like finding that song is just like so, because it's this crazy journey that some days you feel like this is the day. You get up in the morning, you like have your kale juice, you're like, you do like you're just like, I am just gonna crush, this is it. Today is the day. I'm going to change music history. Like I just feel it. Got this idea, and then you try to, and you spend all day, and it's terrible. You get up the next day, work on the idea again, it's still terrible. You like try a new thing, and like a month can go by. And you're just like, you just do, like you just, no, like it's just not, like it's not working. Something maybe is fundamentally wrong with it, or like, I think about this all the time. Like, why even start on this journey? Like, you know when you're lost. It's like you're out there like, we're on a hike, right? Where's the trail? I don't know. And you keep looking, still not a trail. You know, that's what it feels like. Because the days when you're like, then there's days where you're tired, you got in a fight, you didn't sleep at all. Not like a physical fight, you know, or I don't know. Maybe you did that too. I don't really do that, but it's weird. I don't know where that went. But you know, you're frustrated. Your kids are being punks or something, and you like pick up a guitar. You're like, I don't even like guitar. Like you're just like, what am I doing with my life? Those days, and then you like in 10 minutes write the greatest song of your whole life, and it's super frustrating because amazing. There's no job security in that. You don't know how that happens. So it is the pursuit that's really I love that journey of like finding those moments where you're like, this feels bigger than me. This feels like it almost existed before. And sometimes as fast as you can write lyrics, songs come out. Just literally, it's just like, and they're usually the best. So that is the drug I chase. I guess. But I love performing too. But that was my first love, was that thing, finding the thing that's gonna live on. You know? Yeah. Yes.
What song do you think, whether it be when you wrote it or the time you wrote, when you were writing it, or even afterwards, what song do you think had the most emotional impact on you in particular?
Probably. I don't know, there's a lot of times that's kind of also how I process life sometimes. There's a lot of times you're just like a mess trying to write a song because you're trying to figure something out in your own life maybe. And that's kind of the journey I love doing because it feels like it's maybe one of my main roles I feel like I'm supposed to do is that. That's my calling for everyone. It's like you go somewhere, you're kind of like the pioneer for something, and then people get to be like, yeah, I get that. That's me too. I get it. So being honest and going that journey is a huge thing. Rochester was a crazy one. If you guys know that song, it's like the last song on Young Lover I wrote about my dad. I was sitting there, I was like thinking of a story. I'm like, this guy was like, my dad was a ski bum in Breckenridge. He followed Pink Floyd to Europe. He moved to Hawaii. Met my mom. She was a mermaid on a glass-bottom boat. They were married like 4 weeks later. Doesn't make sense. And they went to Oregon, and they were like, had this crazy, started from nothing, and built this kind of really beautiful thing for our family. So I'm living that as I'm writing the song, like this kind of appreciation for what it really meant, and like the messed up worlds they came from to like build something that wasn't messed up, And so that song I remember just like crying for hours, like just like, and then I'd come with another line, I'd be like, oh my gosh, and I was like also really kind of scared to play it because it was so brutally personal that I waited a week. My dad's also, we're both very emotional dudes, but so I played it for him, and it was like, it was the whole thing. It's really beautiful. I still love it. It's one of my favorites.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So revive us to now.
Yes.
To January Flower. How have you matured lyrically and musically as an artist?
That's like the first song I ever wrote, so hopefully it's not loud. But I don't know. It's so different. It's like I think like simpler is more interesting to me these days, and like it's like Matisse. You study art, and he painted, and then by the end of his life, he's like just cutting paper, and you get the jazz. It's just like it's like the black shape with like the red heart. That's more interesting to me actually. Like the like most refined thing. That's the part that is fun for me, and the challenge is how do you make something simple but also profound. That's like way harder than making something profound, and it's also way harder than making something simple. Like that marriage is like, in all art, it's like the best stuff where you're just like, Bill Withers, Ain't No Sunshine When You're Gone, or something that's just so simple but so profound, or Stand By Me, that kind of stuff is, I'll never write a Stand By Me, hopefully, but that's the goal, is like these kind of big ideas that everyone can understand and grab onto. But how have I done that? I don't know, man. You tell me. I just try really hard every record. Sometimes I'm better at it. Sometimes you look back, you're like, I tried really hard on that at that moment. Maybe I wasn't successful. Other times you're like, I didn't even know how that happened. Like I didn't even really like that song. Now it's like my favorite thing I've ever written. So hindsight is something that you look back years later and you're just like, I'm just always just trying to figure it out, dude.
I was gonna say, have you ever wanted to extend your writing experience to maybe like write literature or something beyond music to kind of express what you can't get out in music?
I would love to write a book one day. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was English major, so.
Yeah.
Would it be fiction? I don't know. I will have to. It'd probably be. I've started like definitely some. Yeah. We'll see. I don't know.
Pipe dream, yeah.
Songwriting's so much easier. The whole book, just like that's a long time. It's a lot of words. In many ways, an album is kind of like that. I mean, you write so much, and each song is like a chapter. Sometimes they take days, sometimes they take months of writing stuff that isn't working to find these little windows that like you're like, oh, this makes sense, and then you write 5 songs in a week, and it's a whole thing. It takes, probably maybe it's similar. It takes a year.
Could be,
so,
yeah.
Yes, I should probably play you guys songs too.
What's your favorite guitar?
I'm into this one lately, actually. This guy I bought this as a road guitar. It was a hummingbird, so it had the birds on it, the flowers, but it just got too hot, and it peeled off. I was like, kind of like this. Yeah, this one I bought as a road guitar, emotionally, knowing I could check it on a plane, and if it broke, it's fine. So I bought it new, but now that's been 15 years, and now I'm weirdly, it hasn't broken yet. So, yeah. This one.
Is there an artist that you'd like to do a collab with, either perform with or write a song with? Be kind of like a bucket list, dang, it'd be so cool to write a song with this person. Maybe.
I mean, reasonable or not reasonable?
Not reasonable. Not reasonable.
I mean, Springsteen was a big influence in just the way someone could visually write his Nebraska record was just I was like, what is this? So he would, I'd love to sit in a room and watch how he does it. It'd be pretty cool. Paul Simon was also my hero growing up. My Graceland record was the record in my dad's Volvo that I remember playing and being like, what is music? That was the first one that, my mom had the Amy Grant going. I was like, this is okay. It's pretty cool. And then Paul Simon was like, what is this? There's African choirs. What is happening? So yeah. What should I say? All of your ways and all your thunder got me in a haze running for cover. Where we gonna go from here? Where we gonna go from here? Lights in the driveway, one who's going, coming my way. Tomorrow we're turning down the highway with another bright stage on a weekday. Green grass and the radio, watching it fly past, and away we go 700 places, 700 faces more. All of your ways and all your thunder got me in a haze running for cover. Where we gonna go from here? Where we gonna go from here? That your eyes look like a mother. We talk, you're like my brother. Where we gonna go from here? Where we gonna go from here? How could I miss you? To another God pulled the ocean, and the world is out as big than my eyes. My son, father, got a best plan, saving the daughter. For the best man, 700 places, 700 faces more. All of your ways and all your thunder got me in a haze running for cover. Where we gonna go from here? Where we gonna go from here? Back in your eyes. all of your ways and all your thunder. Got me in a haze running for cover. Where we gonna go from here? Where we gonna go from here? Knock your eyes up like a mother. We talk, you're like a brother. Where we gonna go from here? Where we gonna go from here? Any other last? Yes.
Sorry, I got one more.
No, please.
Is there a venue or a city that you haven't played that's like always been on your list? Like to play, haven't had an opportunity.
Yeah, I guess. We had a lot of rooms these days. You know, it is, I was thinking about this the other day. It's like opening for people or doing this. The places we've gotten to play, the rooms. ACL was really cool last night. I never played that, or 2 nights ago. That was a first in Austin, which is a pretty special place because so a lot of our band, you know, you watch the PBS thing and like people playing, that was like a thing. So that, and there's a place in Portland, I'm playing the Schnitzer, which is like it was a big deal, you know, maybe like in the Northwest as a kid. So playing the Ryman was a mess. Like I played there. That was like a big one for me because I worked at the Starbucks next door in Nashville. So to like play it, I was like, this is really happening. But yeah, I mean, I played a lot of really cool rooms. I'm trying to think what else. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, maybe not. Those two would be the ones that there's probably some. I'll find one to be obsessed with soon, but I don't know one right now. Yeah. Yes.
Oh, I was. But can you play Blame for me, please?
I second that.
A third.
I've never played this live actually. Never had the. Where's that chord go? Got it. I got this. I'm a pro. I have too many songs. It's the problem. Like I have to refresh myself. I didn't start till college, guys. So okay, you know, yeah. It's just kinda, what are the lyrics here? Never had the best intentions. Get all along. Oh, how's it? I know that I never mentioned that I did you wrong. All the time it takes away. I don't wanna wait to say I'm the one to blame. I lost my way, and it still hurts to say I'm the one who changed. Never got to say I lost my way. Oh no. Sick verses. What's it go? I know that the Lord forgives me. That don't make it right. Everything that lives in darkness someday comes to light. And all the time it takes away. I don't wanna wait to say I'm the one to blame. I lost my way, and it still hurts to say I'm the one who changed. Never got to say I lost my way. Oh no. I love that song.
Is there any story with that song?
Oh yeah. That was like, it's funny, even playing, it's very like, yeah, it's a whole thing. No, I wish. Yeah, that'd be easier actually. No, you know, there's people in your life that maybe you look back and you weren't like, you didn't take responsibility for maybe the ways that you hurt them. This individual is not in my life anymore, and we had these chords. This was the first thing we wrote, Joshua Tree. Actually, no. On this new record, the goal was that we went to Joshua Tree. Me and my best friend, I invited Marshall Roman. He's a painter, and this kid Eli, who's actually coming tonight. He's like I love him. He's like such a talented music guy, and I was like, here's the goal. We're just gonna go to the desert and just hang out, and the only goal is to write music that we love. That's it. Like old school Marshall, my best friend from elementary school. That's it. No, like this is no industry, radio, commercial, like. And first one we wrote was Powerless because we did run out of power and we were stuck in the dark. And I was just like kind of freaking out because we had no cell service. This storm blew in. The most rainfall they'd ever recorded in the desert happened. And basically we were like 10 miles from civilization, from anybody. So we were just stuck on this road with a river running down. The dirt road was washed out. No power, just sitting in the dark together because the whole house was on solar power. And we had a fireplace, so we made a fire, which like felt like we're not gonna go crazy because we could stare at this fire at least, you know. And I wrote I had these chords. I was like, these are weird. And then I remember I was like, I'm the one to blame. I was like, whoa. And instantly I was like, thought of this situation in my life. I was like, really? Do I really want to go there right now? Like, no, I don't want to. I was like, no one wants to hear this. And I was like, who wants to hear a song about like this? So, and I remember Marshall's painting in the corner. Childhood best friend, he was like, if you're going to make the best record you've ever made, you have to say that. And I was like, that is why you're here. This is it. This is, you know, reminding me of who I am and what I'm supposed to do. And we wrote that whole song. And like, weirdly, I had my phone on record. And it's this like 40-minute voice memo, because we wrote it pretty fast, so I think we wrote it about 40 minutes, 30 minutes. And it's just me like torn, trying to write this song, and I somehow have the whole recording, which is amazing, watching this whole song come from nothing. It's too personal, I'd probably share it, but there's too many details in there that no one needs to know. Anyway, so it's a really special song. I've never played it before, that's it. Thanks, man. It's hard to sing. Anyways, yes.
So a lot of your lyrics kind of draw on spiritual faith,
Yeah.
Bible quotes, phrases, things. Where does that come from? Like, are you sharing?
That my favorite part was
Not just that song.
no,
but it seems
I
like
love that song though. Everything that lives in darkness someday comes to light. Eli's Jewish, and I was like, well, you know, you could just say everything that lives in darkness someday comes. He said, what? What is that? I was like, really, just, you never heard that? He's like, no, that is the best lyric I've ever heard. I'm like, well, I didn't write it, actually. What is that? And I was like, I don't know. Yeah, what's the lyric for that? I don't know, yeah, anyways. He was like, that's the best lyric. I don't care where that came from, that has to be it. So yeah, I mean, that was like, my being raised in kind of like hippie Christian world, my parents, and like it was a huge defining like force in my life. And when I became a musician, that was part of the experience, was writing about that kind of awakening I'd had, and for the first time. And so yes, music was really connected to that beginning of my journey, and it's still, you know, that I tend to love to write things. I love to find my way into something that seems really sad and upsetting, or a problem, or something I don't understand, and like try to find this redemptive idea. Like if you notice, I don't like to just leave you in this thing. Like I tend, even if it's just like a little bit, you know, everyone lives without regret. You know, what you can't forgive, you can't forget. That's the line of blame. Now I remember it. Sorry. Yeah, like that's the journey that I love going on for people, and that's that kind of idea coming back to that there's like this force of love and grace that like shaped us all is like an author and all of these things is definitely a massive part of what I love exploring in my songs. So, yeah. What?
It comes through well.
Oh, thanks, man. I'm trying. Yes. We got heavy though. I don't get it. Like it.
I write poems, I guess, because I'm not a musician, but I write in my free time, and
Yeah.
I find myself sometimes, like, I know how I feel, and I know kind of what I want to say in my head, and I speak it to myself, but
Yeah.
if you ever, like, what do you do to help get, like, all your thoughts and feelings on paper in a way that, like, you can construct a song around it? Like, if you have, I guess it'd be equivalent of writer's block.
Well, if you have writer's block, just write about writer's block. That's what I do. So you can't write, then write about not being able to write and why you can't. That's the trick, right? They say you learn in creative writing. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. You know, as a writer, is it scary to you to say it, or is it you just have a hard time finding?
No, it's
things?
kind of like, how do you, like, you know how you feel and you know what you want to say, but you don't really know how you want to say it,
Yeah.
or you have a hard time kind of typing it out, or writing it down, kind of giving you something.
It's like every day of my life, probably.
Yeah, so like, is there anything that you've done that's kind of helped you?
I mean, you can just say it plainly too. That's the thing. If you're trying to write something, usually that stuff cuts through. Like if you just, whatever you really, if you know, you feel a way, just say that, and then you don't have to manufacture it or else it feel like writing. You know, songwriting, we always talk about like, if you're in a room and someone's like, oh, I can hear that, like the pen on the paper in that line. Like there's lines that are just too like writery. Like it's like, oh, I need a good writery line. But like sometimes just plain conversational stuff cuts through more than some big, huge idea or line. That and like the bravery, like if something's scary to you, usually that's the stuff you have to say. Like that, if you're like, ooh, wow, I don't know if my mom hears that, or like my roommate, they're gonna know this about them, or like, or just like, I don't want the world to know that I feel that way. That's usually the most important stuff to say. Yeah, and the scariest, but there you go. Unless you're like a rapper, maybe you can do, that's a different path. You say that. There's a different approach. Yeah, I was getting that vibe from you.
You do sooner or later?
That sounds hard. I got it. I appreciate the. I'll play you one. How about I play you? Can I play you one more? Is that all right? Since we're all here. I've had 3 years off too, guys. So you got to just bear with me. The songs I know are the ones I know. Okay. Like we're all getting our sea legs back. Yeah, it is a really. I was the most terrified and the most excited of this tour by far I've ever. Because it was a long time to not play shows, and it's been really rewarding to be back there. Thank you for your patience too with all the, I don't know, rescheduling.
Thanks for coming back.
Yeah, man, always. Let's see. You said this song. I like playing this one. Something's in the air tonight. The sky's alive with the burning light. Mark my words, something's bound to break. Found myself in a bit of fight. Held my hand in the darkest night. Don't know where you're coming from, but you're coming soon. To a kid from Oregon, away in California, almost is more than I've ever known to see. Come on and we'll see, like we were breathing. time without you. Here we go, there's nothing left to choose. Here we go, there's nothing left to lose. I can still hear the trains out my window. Hobart Street to here in Nashville. I can still smell the pomegranate strong. I don't know how hard this wind will blow, or where we'll go. Come on and we'll see, like we were free. Push the pedal down, watch the world around fly by us. Come on and we'll try one last time. I feel for one more time without you. Come on and we'll see, like we're free. Push the pedal down, watch the world around fly by us. Here we go, there's nothing left to choose. Here we go, there's nothing left to Thank you guys so much for coming. I'm really looking forward to tonight. This has been really awesome, and thank you again for coming out and doing the VIP thing. I love it.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, tell your dad thank you too.